Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. And actually, I just realized that I went live without adding a very important component. So hopefully you'll see some improvement in my video. Well, not my video, but my audio quality. Give me just a second. And we are now at 48 hours. 48 hours into this week's fast. And as you know, we are doing a 72-hour fast. So this is now starting day number 3. Okay, so we had several people who were with us on day number 1. If you were day number 1, put a 1. We had several people who are ending their fast today. This is day number 2. And then, of course, several people who are starting their fast today and then getting into the rest of it, starting here in just a little while. So what I didn't do, and let me do that here really quickly, is I did not put on my mic. You should still be able to hear me, but let's see if that improves the quality here just a little bit. And you get to see, right? So look at this, right? So you get to see this. I'm gonna just pop this on right here. Let's see, let's do that. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So you get to see that, and it's showing, but that's okay. I could hide it, right? So I could do this and pop it right down in there. Right. See how that works? So you want to hide it. And right about there. There you go. Awesome. Okay. And then on this side, I've got to pop this into my camera. And there you go. So hopefully that is a better sound, but hey. All right. So 48 hours into this week's fast, and if you ended the fast, if you're ending the fast right now, kudos, congratulations for you, because you have made it through this milestone. If this is your first fast, I mean, big up to you, right? If you've been fasting and this is just a continuation of that, then I want to give you big props as well, because that means that you are being consistent. So whether you're ending the fast and this is your first time, or you are ending the fast and this is a continuation of what you normally do, good for you. Those of you who ended the fast yesterday, and you should be seeing, if you are watching your blood sugars, if you're monitoring, you should actually see that you have better results blood sugar wise from the food that you're eating. What I mean by that is that there are things that you probably were eating before that were causing big spikes in blood sugars that are not causing as big a spike now. Now that's not like going out and eating like 5 gallons of ice cream and 3 chocolate cakes. This is just a reasonable meal. I'm gonna turn this a little bit this way. There we go. Okay. So that's the first, right? So yesterday and today. So if you did yesterday, put a 1. If you ended your fast today, put a 2. And if you are now starting your fast, or you are doing a complete fast, a total fast with us for the 72 hours, I want you to put a 3 if you're starting the fast today, so you're going to be fasting for the 3rd day, and a T for total if you are planning to fast for the entire time. What an amazing process, an amazing thing to have happen where you are completing a fast. I know a lot of people, before they fast, they say, well, I can't do this. I don't know if I can go that long without eating because I'm going to be hungry. And there's a whole conversation we can have around hunger and appetite and cravings and so forth. Physical hunger versus psychological hunger. That's a whole conversation. But just to say that if you have completed a fast, right, either first day or second day, then you now know that this is possible. And for those of you who are starting the fast, you will find out here pretty soon that it is possible as well. And of course, I'm here as I walk through the 72 hours. I'm 48 hours in, and those of you who have been with us for the entire time, you're 48 hours or a little bit behind. depending on when you started it. And right now, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm in the conference room. Just got back to the office. I just saw a patient over at the hospital, and getting ready to get into the afternoon for my patient schedule. And one of the things that happened yesterday, and if you saw our show last night, it was a check-in at 33 hours, but we spent time actually walking through a menu, a 7-day menu, and talking about food and how to adjust. I'm gonna bring this down a little bit. How to adjust the food that we eat, how to adjust the menu, how to create a menu, and looking at a dish and making changes to that dish to make it healthier. And so that's one of the things that we want to make sure that we're able to do, because there are so many things that we enjoy. There are lots of foods that we enjoy, and I shared with you some of the things I eat. And we sometimes will think that we have to give up the food if we're going to be healthy. And the answer to the frank answer is that no, you don't. In fact, you can eat many of the same things that you eat right now by simply adjusting it, changing a component of it, changing how you season it, changing how you cook it, changing what you use. For example, one of the things that we looked at yesterday was grilled salmon on a bed of rice with asparagus. Okay, so simple. Salmon, easy to cook. Asparagus, you put some olive oil and some salt and pepper. Throw it into the oven, put it on broil or put it on a grill. Not a big issue. Not a big issue. But in that list of foods that I just mentioned, the carbs, right, would be the rice. And so for me, what I've gone to doing is substituting cauliflower rice for some of the for rice. In fact, I've made, if you saw one of our episodes called Cooking with Dr. Woode, I did a cauliflower pizza, and that was actually delicious. Now that I'm saying that, I think I'm going to do that tomorrow after I break the fast. I'm gonna have a cauliflower pizza. In fact, so pizza. So I'm from New York, and so I love pizza. Not that everybody from New York loves pizza, but anyway, I am from New York and I love pizza. And so that's been one of my struggles. Well, where do you get good pizza? Well, not good pizza. Where do you get pizza that won't raise your blood sugar, right? Does it really exist? And so what I started doing was I started experimenting with cauliflower pizza, and I really like it. But the cauliflower still causes some spikes in blood sugar. Not a whole lot, but some. So if I'm going to decrease the spike in blood sugar, what I said, hey, how do I even minimize that? And so I went to making cheese pizza, right? So cheese, right, without cauliflower, without the dough. And so what I basically do is I take a pan or plate, and I get my different cheeses just like you would with a pizza, and I spread it out. There's a pack of cheese that I get that has like 4 different cheeses in it, and then so I take that, and then I have one that has it's called I think it's called Mexican blend or something like that, and so it has different other cheeses. So I mix that, and then I get some mozzarella, I get some Parmesan, and I put some Italian season in it, some salt, pepper, some garlic, and even with that. Let me tell you what I do. And so I put that either in the oven or in the microwave, and you let it kind of melt. And I do the microwave because the microwave gets it harder faster. And so I let it melt, and I take it out before it's really hard, really, right. It's melted, I can see some of the bubbles. And then you can put on it whatever you want. So if you want to put ground beef, you want to put whatever the toppings are, you put some onions or mushrooms or whatever you like, and then you put it back into the microwave, or in this case, you put it in the oven, right? So I put it in the microwave, let it get melted, become a little hard, then I put my toppings on it and then stick it in the oven. And now the crust gets hard and the stuff that's on top gets cooked. And you're putting in a broil at this point. And when you take that out, right, you would think that because it doesn't have the dough or the bread in it, that it wouldn't be that good, but it is delicious, right? It's amazing, right? So I get the flavor, and you could change the seasonings and so forth as you need to. You can even add to that. You can add tomato sauce. Okay. Now, one of the things, and once again from New York, one of the things that I think people sometimes try to do is they try to overcome the poor taste of their pizza by adding a lot of tomato sauce. You don't need a lot of tomato sauce. In fact, a lot of pizzas in New York, they don't have a lot of tomato sauce. I mean, they have just a little bit, so you get the flavor. They get the cheese, and the cheese is the big thing, and then the seasoning. So it is delicious. So when I do that, that is the new pizza that I make. I've not had a full-fledged pizza. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I had some. We had a function. When was that? A couple of months ago, and there was pizza, and so I had a slice of pizza, a couple of slices of pizza. Um, Actually, we had pizza here, yeah, in the office, right? They brought pizza in, um, and I had a slice, and then I had the cheese off of the other cheese off the other slice, right? All right, so anyway, so the show yesterday or the episode last night was about how to construct, change, modify a meal or a menu so that during your eating windows that you're doing the best thing you can for your health. When we talked about balanced bites, we went through that last week. The things that we fuel our body with are very important because they affect not just what's going on during the time we're eating, right? Because the food can cause high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver. So all the things that we talk, all the chronic diseases, all the metabolic diseases, definitely has an impact on that. But the food also has an impact on the fast. So the things that you eat out there, the things you eat in your non-fasting window, will definitely affect the things that go on in the fast, how your body responds, the amount of time actually it takes for your body to get into ketosis. Remember, it takes about 24 to 36 hours for your glycogen to go away. Well, if you come into the fast with high blood sugars, then the body has to use up the blood sugar, right? It has to lower that blood sugar before it even gets to the glycogen. And then the glycogen has to go away before it even gets to the fat cells. So sometimes people say, well, I've been fasting. I'm fasting for 24 hours, and my blood sugars are still 300, and it's still 300 a day and a half later. Well, that's sometimes has to do with how you come into the fast, how high the blood sugar is, how much time it takes for the body to now begin to regulate that. We have one of our community members that said that they started out with blood sugars of 200s, and then I think the next morning it had gone down to like 150s. And that was partially because of fasting, right? So when you fast, your body is primed to be able to handle the blood sugar. When we talked about what goes on in the muscles when you're fasting, those GLUT4 receptors, which are those basically transporters, I shouldn't say receptors, GLUT4 transporters, and what they do is they take sugar into the muscle, and they do so without insulin. So we're able to regulate blood sugars much more, much more simply. Not sure what just happened there. Regulate blood sugars much more simply and with less of a problem and with less medication when we fast, because the muscles are primed. They're just waiting kind of like sponges to suck up that sugar. So that, which is why after you fast, you could eat things that you normally would not be able to eat without having a big spike. And now you eat it, and the blood sugars don't seem to spike at all, or very little. That without you having to take medication, and that's because those GLUT4 transporters are just sitting there, ready and waiting to suck up the sugar that's coming from any of the carbs that you eat. Okay. That's not to say that you should go and decide that you are going to eat um, whatever, just eat whatever you want because, okay, now we can do this. And I think that's sometimes the misunderstanding, right? So this idea of reversing diabetes, um, it is not that you can just eat whatever you want, but the body is much more able to respond. But if you go back to eating the way you were eating before, guess what's going to happen, right? We go right back into the metabolic disease. So it is not the case that you can just do whatever you want after this. It is that you are much more able to be, and I don't call it freer because it sounds like you're in prison, but you could be a lot more liberal with the things you're eating when we say you've reversed the diabetes. But if you go back to eating the way you were eating before, that metabolic disease is coming back. And so just remember, it is always a process. And so people will say to me, well, why do you fast? You've been fasting for a while. In fact, I had someone today said to me, we were talking about my weight, and so I've lost now about 100 pounds. And they said, "Oh, so what are you doing to maintain?" And I said, "Well, I'm fasting." And they said, "Oh, you're still fasting even though you're maintaining?" And the implication was that fasting was a thing that I did, and now that's over, and now I can get back to my life. And so for you, it is not a thing that you get over. It is a process that we are in that's setting us up for the best possibility of maintaining health. It's kind of like hmm, I was gonna say it's kind of like brushing your teeth. Like you don't say, well, you don't have any you went to you went to the dentist, and you didn't have any cavities. So, or I guess you brush your teeth. Are you still brushing your teeth now, even though you went to the dentist? And the answer is yes, because there's a whole host of other things that go on if you don't do that. So it's not a okay. I do this sometimes. I'm going to do it for 3 months. I'm going to do it for 6 months. I'm going to do it for a year, and then when I've gotten there, it's over. It is now a lifestyle. It is the thing that I do. And I'll tell you, of all the things that I do in terms of my health, um, and I mentioned this yesterday, I think in our check-in here. I asked, which is the one thing of the health action plan that you are having the best results from? And so people were putting in, fasting, walking, strength training. For me, if I had to pick, right, one, it would be fasting. And a close second is the strength training that I'm doing because I've seen tremendous benefit in my blood sugar from fasting, definitely. Tremendous improvement in my weight from fasting. And strength training has done an amazing job for my blood sugar, and it is stabilizing my weight. So you guys, if you've been following, I say, hey, after you fast, you have the fluctuations, and you'll see if you or when you come, we'll take a look at my weight. You will see that as well, and you'll see those fluctuations that happen post fast, right? So it goes up 3-4 pounds, comes back down 3-4, goes up 3-4 pounds, right? So since I've been doing the strength training, the fluctuations are not as big. hmm Fluctuations are not as big. So I am fasting. You should expect between a point 0.5 to 1.2 pounds per day weight loss during the fast. And then when you're doing the strength training, right, the ability to kind of maintain a weight that is reasonable, right, that doesn't, and your weight will fluctuate, 2-3 pounds here and there, sometimes up to 5 pounds, right? It is what it is. But with the strength training that I've been doing, I've been able to kind of maintain my weight in the 180s, 189. I think this morning was 188. Yesterday was 189, so we're down about a pound. And the day before that it was 190. So that's been an amazing process. Okay, so you should be seeing some movement in a direction. And if you're not seeing a movement in a direction, okay, let's take a look at that and see exactly why that is. Because there's no reason for fasting and for strength training and for walking and for balanced bites, as we've been outlining the health action plan, and not seeing changes in weight, changes in blood sugar, changes in your overall metabolic health, right? So you should be seeing changes there. They are often gradual and they're slow, um, which is why I do longer fasts. Because I did some of the intermittent fasting protocols for years, right? So I did that for years, but it wasn't until I got into the extended fasts that I was able to um, really make bigger dents, quicker dents. Let me say it that way, quicker dents, and to have maintenance of some of my metabolic markers, things like blood sugar, cholesterol, A1C, of course, weight has been a big one, and it's the one that people see, and so people ask about that. But in the background, all this other stuff is happening as well, right? So metabolically, getting metabolically more active, metabolic muscles, or muscles are becoming more metabolically active, and so we're able now to do a lot more than before in terms of our health, in terms of my health. Um, I went to the store yesterday and I bought. Well, I didn't actually buy it. Went and I picked up a new pair of pants, and I put them back. And the reason I put them back is that even though I've lost weight, my weight is still changing. And so people say, well, how low are you going to go? They said, don't lose any more. That's a hope. Yeah. So I keep saying that's another There's all these conversations to be had, in how we perceive ourselves and how people perceive us when it comes to weight and it comes to food, right? So our society, people want you to eat. Like, people do not want you to not eat. Like, if you're sitting at a table and you go out with some folks and you are sitting at the table and you're having a good time, everybody's talking and you're enjoying the process, enjoying the fellowship, and somebody will say, man, you're not eating? Why are you starving yourself? Or, just eat with us, enjoy yourself. And sometimes people take it as an affront to them that you're not eating. And it's not, it's just that you've decided. Which is why I say, when you are fasting, do not have a lot of social things that are scheduled during fasting, right? So don't plan your family reunion at that time, or don't, birthday party. Fast another time. Fast before, fast after. Because we're built for community, and our brain will choose community over fasting. So if you have to make a choice of staying out of community, being the odd one out, or breaking the fast and being a community, yeah, your body, your brain will tell you, come on, let's go do this. Let's forget about this fasting business. So that's part of the whole process. My goal has been to maintain a metabolic state that is instructive for me, because I have struggled for so long. And so the path that I am on, and the path that I am helping people to walk down, is a path that has been I want to say, a lifetime now walk in understanding myself, understanding my body, dealing with emotional issues that were pushing buttons, right? A relationship with food that was dysfunctional, an emotional relationship with how I handled some of those things that were dysfunctional. And so being in a space now where I can say, hey, and when I say to people, I get excited when I'm approaching a fast. Like, I don't fear, I don't get anxious, I don't get worried about the fast, because I like the fast. Because when I'm in the fast, y'all, when I'm in the fast, the food noise goes away. The food noise goes away. I'm not thinking about food. And the only time, I shouldn't say that, I'm not thinking about, the only time I think about food is when I see people around me eating, So my team, my wife, my son, when I go places where people are eating, I think about food. And I think about food not because I'm hungry, but once again, connection, right? So we're built for connection, and we connect through food. So my brain says, hey, you're here, you're connecting, you got to eat, right? So the routine that we're in. Or if, as I mentioned in one of our episodes several weeks ago, I was sitting in my studio and I was recording a video, and I was having some challenges with something that was going on. Either mic wasn't connecting, or video wasn't looking good, or I forgot what it was. And so I'm sitting there, and I decided to get up, take a break. And I got up, walked into the kitchen. I was fasting, by the way. I think I was 48 hours into that, or 24 hours into that fast. Got up, walked in the kitchen, got some cheese, ate the cheese, came back, sat down. And it wasn't until I sat back down that I realized, hey, wait a minute, what did you just do? Right? Because the tiredness and the frustration really pushed through the decision that I already made that I was fasting. So habits, emotions, having stuff around, right? So in that case, if there was nothing around to eat, then I wouldn't have eaten it. I may have gotten up anyway and gone and looked, but there was nothing there. It would have been nothing there. But when we have things around us, then we are more likely to eat something. In fact, when we see things, right? So just the act of visually, of that thing visually coming into our view, then that will cause us to sometimes eat, and it will push us off of our eating window, off of our eating schedule, off of our fast. And so habits, emotions, access, and then of course taste. And taste is complicated because it encompasses memory, it encompasses the bliss point, which is that place where when we create food, when manufacturers make food, they make the food in such a way that they want you to have more, right? So if you're a company and you're making a product, you don't want people to just have one of the product. You want them to keep using the product. And so the food has to elicit for them that place that says, okay, I can't just have one. And so that's called the bliss point, the perfect combination of fat, salt, and sugar. So that when you eat it, there's a combination just hits the palate and boom, right? So there's the memory that comes from how you felt the last time you ate this, or this is what mama used to make, or this is what the connection was between me, my brothers, and my sisters. Whenever we got together, we ate this thing. So now, years later, you're 60, 70, 80 years old, 50 years old, and this happened when you were, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you still have that connection. And so you're always chasing that food, not because the food itself, but you're chasing the food because of the memory, right? So the memory. There's also the bliss point. And that's the point that we just talked about, where the food it's designed to elicit a certain response. And when you eat that food, you get that response. And the next time you're thinking about that food, the brain says, oh, you remember that when we got that stuff, when we felt that way? Okay? And then the other thing that food does or elicits for us when we think about it, and this is the taste part, the food is symbolic of the ability to deal with something and to buffer, if you will, isolate, avoid, not feel. So the food is associated with that feeling, that calm. The food is associated with, man, I can go have that conversation, or I can eat. I can go have the conversation, or I can eat. And so because the last time we ate the food and we were able to not feel for at least a little while, then the body says, okay, let's do that again. Okay? All right, so kudos once again to everyone who has been fasting this week. I'm glad that you came and joined me. If you fasted on day 1, kudos to you, yay, 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 loved it. If you fasted on day 2 and you ended your 2 today, right, my hats off to you. And if you started the fast with us right now, and you're going into the final week or final day of the fast into the 72 hours, I think that's an amazing process. And then, of course, if you are doing a total fast with us, then I'm excited for you as well, because you are making the choices that you need to make to be metabolically healthy. And fasting is an amazing way of doing that. It is one of the components of our health action plan. Okay, it is part of tier 1. So walking and fasting, tier 1, then strength training and balance bites, tier 2, and then in our upcoming episode of Dwain Woode MD Live on Monday at 7 p.m. Central, we'll be coming back and we'll get into our third tier as we move into rest, right? So very important concept that we'll talk about. Not just sleep, but rest. Rest is very important for our metabolic health. Tonight we'll be doing our check-in at 9 p.m. Central on Dwain Woode MD. And then of course tomorrow we'll come back, we'll do our check-in as we end the fast, and you'll see what I'm eating to break the fast, and then we move into the rest of the weekend. Well, thanks for being here. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted. I want you to go there, and I want you to live a limitless life. All right, everybody, take care.